You ever think you know someone so well you'd bet your life on them, only to find out they were studying you the whole time? Studying your routines, your quirks, even the shape of your face, so they could use it against you. That's what happened to me. I thought my face was mine. Turns out it wasn't. She used my own face, my Face ID, to unlock my bank account and book a luxury vacation for two. And I didn't get the invite. I only found out because the email confirmation came through while I was sitting at home. The same home I'd worked my ass off to pay for. The same home she waltzed through like a queen, smiling at me like nothing was wrong. At first I thought it was a glitch. I opened my phone and there it was, a booking for 2 business class tickets to Bali, a 5-star villa with a private pool, spa treatments, romantic dinners, even a sunset yacht cruise. It looked like the kind of trip couples post about on Instagram, with hashtags like blessed and paradise. Except my name wasn't on the reservation. The guest list had hers, and his. Some guy I'd never heard of before. My chest went cold, my mouth dry. I stared at that confirmation email like it was a foreign language. Then the rage hit, slow at first, then sharp. She hadn't just lied, she hadn't just cheated. She'd used me. My face, my money, my trust. All the little moments where I'd leaned over her phone to show her something, or glanced at the screen while she paid for groceries. She'd been recording me, watching the angle, testing the Face ID until she could replicate it without me even knowing. I was the lock, and she had made herself the key. But here's the thing. I didn't storm into the living room and confront her. I didn't scream or wave my phone in her face. No. Something in me shifted that night. I'd been humiliated before, cheated on in college by a girl who swore she loved me. Back then, I exploded, yelled, cried, looked pathetic. I swore I'd never give anyone that satisfaction again. So instead I sat in the dark with my phone in my hand, scrolling through the itinerary she'd built with my money. And I made a choice. I was going to play along, let her think she was smarter than me. And then I was going to flip the entire script. The next morning, I acted normal. She came into the kitchen wearing my old t-shirt, kissed me on the cheek, and asked if I wanted pancakes. My stomach churned, but I smiled. Sure. I even told her I'd be working late that week. Gave her the perfect alibi to spend more time planning her little getaway. She didn't suspect a thing. That's the part that still amazes me. How easily people underestimate you when they think they've already beaten you. That night, while she showered, I opened her laptop. The browser was still logged in. And there it was, the whole plan laid out in email. His name was Alex. He wasn't just some fling. He was a full-blown affair. They'd been talking for months, booking dinners, sneaking hotel nights when I was out of town for work. This trip was their escape. The fresh start. She'd even written him a message. Once we're back, I'll figure out the separation. He won't see it coming. Separation. That word punched me harder than the cheating itself. She wasn't planning on confessing. She was planning on leaving me blindsided. Empty. Probably broke. Taking half of what I'd worked for. Walking away hand in hand with him. She thought she was so clever. But here's what she didn't know. When she used my Face ID, she triggered alerts on my bank. I'd already been flagged about suspicious activity, but I'd brushed it off as a glitch. Now I knew better, so I called the bank, explained that I hadn't authorized the charges, and they froze the account immediately. The vacation was still booked for now, but the payment would bounce. They didn't know that, and that was the first seed of my plan. Let her believe everything was set. Let her walk straight into the trap of her own making. For the next week I watched her carefully. She was giddy, lighter than I'd seen her in months. She hummed while she cooked, smiled at her phone constantly, and even suggested we go on a date night. I agreed, bought tickets to a movie, played the doting husband. Inside I was taking notes. Every time she texted him, every excuse she gave, every little detail of her lie, I stored it, because if I was going to end this, I wanted the knife sharp enough to cut clean through. The day of the trip came faster than I expected. She told me she had a work conference out of town, packed her suitcase with outfits she never wore around me. I offered to drive her to the airport, and for a split second, panic flickered across her face. She laughed it off, said her co-worker was picking her up. That's when I knew I was right. She thought I was clueless, But what she didn't know was that I'd already booked myself a seat. Not on her flight, but on the one right after. I used my own money. What was left in a separate account she didn't know about. When she boarded with her lover, I boarded too, a few rows behind, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. It was almost comical how oblivious they were. They sat there sipping champagne, giggling like teenagers, while I scrolled through my phone, documenting every moment. When we landed in Bali, they strutted through the terminal hand in hand. I hung back, keeping my distance, my phone camera catching just enough to prove what I already knew. They had no idea I was there. I watched as they checked into the villa, as they posed for selfies, as they laughed in the pool. It was surreal, seeing my wife with someone else in a paradise I had unknowingly paid for. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theater performance she was starring in, where I was supposed to be the fool who never saw the curtains drop. But I wasn't just going to sit in the audience anymore. I was going to walk onto the stage and rewrite the ending. The first night I didn't confront them. I booked a cheap hotel nearby, laid low, and thought about my next move. Anger burned in me, but so did clarity. I could blow up now, scream, demand answers, but what would that give me? A scene? Drama? No, I wanted something lasting, something that would leave scars they couldn't cover up. So I decided to wait, let them think they were free, that they'd escaped, let them believe they'd gotten away with it, and then right when they felt safest, I'd strike. And as I lay there in that hotel bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazily above me, I realized something that made me smile for the first time in days. They'd written their own ending. They'd left the evidence, the paper trail, the receipts. All I had to do was follow, and I was very, very good at following. The next morning in Bali, I woke up to the sound of scooters buzzing outside my hotel window and the smell of sea salt drifting in from the beach. For a moment, I almost forgot why I was there. Then I remembered. The confirmation email, the Face ID, the stolen money, the two of them laughing in first class while I sat quietly a few rows behind. I felt the anger again, that cold steel tightening in my chest. But beneath it was something new, control. For once, I wasn't the fool chasing shadows. I was the one holding the cards, and they didn't even know I was in the same country, let alone the same island. I spent that day shadowing them, not close enough to be noticed, but near enough to see everything. They lounged by the pool, ordered cocktails at noon, posed for selfies in their robes. I watched her tilt her head against his shoulder, the same way she used to lean on me when we first dated. I heard her laugh drift across the water, carefree and bright, and I thought, she really believes she's living her best life right now. And that was fine. Let her. Because when you strip a performance bare, the fall is harder if the actor thinks the audience is applauding. That evening, they dressed up for the fancy dinner I had unknowingly funded. He wore a linen shirt open at the chest. She wore a red dress I recognized immediately, the one she'd told me she'd outgrown. They walked hand in hand into the candlelit restaurant, and I followed a few minutes later, sitting at a corner table with my baseball cap pulled low. The waiter poured their wine, set down their plates, and I watched them toast to new beginnings. My jaw tightened, but I stayed calm. I was gathering everything. The smiles, the kisses, the receipts. Evidence not just for me, but for anyone who might doubt the story later. After dinner, I slipped back to my hotel and reviewed everything I'd collected. Photos, videos, screenshots of the booking confirmations, even the bank alerts. I had a full dossier now, a narrative, from start to finish. But the question lingered, how do I end it? Do I walk up to them mid-vacation and blow everything to pieces? Or do I let them soak in their fantasy until the very last moment, then tear it away when they least expect it? The answer came to me around midnight, lying in bed, staring at my phone screen. It wasn't enough to expose them. I wanted them to feel it. I wanted them to taste the consequences of thinking I was expendable. So I crafted the plan carefully, step by step, like setting a trap. The next day while they went sightseeing, I went to the villa reception desk. I explained politely that the card on file for their stay had been declined due to a fraud dispute. The receptionist looked confused, tapped at her keyboard and nodded. Yes, sir, it seems the payment has been reversed. I leaned in and said, don't cancel anything yet. Give it 24 hours. I'll settle it myself if needed. She agreed. That was all I needed. Time. That night, as they came back tipsy from their adventures, The receptionist politely informed them of the issue. I watched from the lobby as they stammered, tried to cover, promised it was a mistake. He pulled out his wallet, tried his card, declined, tried another, declined. The receptionist smiled awkwardly, explained they'd need to resolve it by tomorrow or the booking would be void. The look on their faces was priceless. Her panic barely concealed, his bravado cracking. I slipped out before they could notice me, my heart pounding with a strange mix of satisfaction and sorrow. The next morning I made my move. I waited until they were at the pool again, sprawled out like royalty, and then I walked up. No hat, no glasses, nothing to hide me anymore. Just me. Her husband. The man whose face had unlocked the bank. The man whose money had paved their path here. She saw me first. Her eyes went wide. Her drink froze halfway to her lips, and all the color drained from her face. "What are you?" she started, but her voice cracked. I cut her off, with a smile. Calm, steady, deadly quiet. "Surprised to see me? You shouldn't be. After all, it's my vacation you're on." He sat up, confusion plastered on his face. "Man, what the hell are you doing here?" I pulled out my phone, opened the folder, and showed them the screenshots. The booking confirmation, the bank alert, the videos of them at dinner, at the pool, holding hands. "You used my face, my money, my trust, and you thought I'd never find out. But I followed, and now I'm here." She tried to speak, but I kept going. "Here's the fun part. The villa, paid with a disputed card, which means by tomorrow you'll be locked out, unless you cover the balance yourselves. Which I know you can't, so enjoy your last night in paradise. After that, you're on your own." He jumped to his feet, red in the face. "You think you can just—" I cut him off again. "I don't have to think, I already did it. Every charge reversed, every dollar frozen. You're not living on my dime anymore." I turned to her, and for the first time in weeks, I let the cold truth out. "You wanted a fresh start with him. Congratulations, you've got it. But it's not coming with my money, my name, or my face. It's coming with nothing. Exactly what you both deserve." The silence that followed was thicker than the tropical air. She started to cry, tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. "No, you chose him. You chose this. Own it." I walked away then, leaving them by the pool, the other guests staring, whispers already spreading. By the time I reached the lobby, I felt lighter than I had in years. Not happy. No, happiness doesn't come that quickly, but free from the web of lies, free from the humiliation, free from the illusion that she was ever really mine. On the flight home, I sat by the window watching the ocean shrink beneath me. My phone buzzed a few times. Calls, messages from her, from mutual friends. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what I'd say if I ever did. She used my face to unlock my bank, but I used her arrogance to unlock my freedom. And that's the part that stuck with me. Not the betrayal, not even the revenge, but the lesson. People can steal your time, your money, even your but if you're patient, if you stay calm, you can take back the one thing they never expect you to, your power. By the time the plane touched down, I wasn't her husband anymore. I wasn't the fool financing their fantasies. I was me again, stronger, wise, and ready to start fresh. Not with her, not with him, but with myself.